When it comes to mapping territories, there are two kinds of data to think about. The first is demographic measures such as age, income, and so on, and the second is boundary data such as zip codes. Most countries collect demographic information during a census on population, which typically occurs every 10 years. Some countries, such as the US, will produce annual updates to the census in the form of estimates, which are based on a sample of the population. This annual survey is known as the American Community Survey. Other kinds of surveys are also available for territory mapping, the most notable being business surveys, which would collect information on the type of business, payroll, and number of employees, and so on. This information can be useful for when you are offering business services or wish to know the daytime working population of an area. Demographic information collected by population census typically includes a wide range of factors including age, income, employment, race, household characteristics, and so on. In fact, there is usually way more information that we need to plan territories. So it's usually a good idea to start with the core factors such as total population, median income, median age, and unemployment rate, and others as required. The second data type to consider is the boundary data. Although census data is collected on individual households, it is usually aggregated to an area that includes a few hundred or a few thousand households. Demographic information is usually disseminated at several different levels, from a census tract to a zip code to a country or state. It's normally a good idea to choose one boundary type and use that as a building block for your territories. There is no right or wrong answer to choosing a boundary type, but here are some pointers to help you decide. Zip codes or postal codes are probably the most common boundary type in use for territory mapping, as they are relatively easy to locate, and someone familiar with a city will probably know the general area for a particular zip code. They are also useful for marketing purposes, as you can target specific zip codes for digital or leaflet marketing. There are, however, a couple of drawbacks to zip codes. The first is that they are not legal boundaries per se, and are usually a collection of postal delivery routes. This can mean that their shapes are a bit awkward and they may not follow physical features such as highways very well. It's also not uncommon to see different versions of zips or postal codes boundaries being used by different authorities. However, if you use zip codes for historical or other reasons, don't get too hung up on this, as it's often not a big issue at the end of the day. Another common boundary type is census tract, or it might be called statistical areas in some countries. They are usually smallish areas that divide up a city into areas that have roughly the same population and typically follow natural features such as highways and rivers. This makes them ideal as building blocks, as they can produce nice, evenly sized, and regularly shaped territories. Their only drawback is that they are not in common use anymore, and the ID for the census tract does not have any meaning for most people. If you are unsure about what boundary type is best for you, please get in touch with us here at Mango Map, and we will have one of our territory mapping specialists to advise you on the best solution to meet your needs.